Hi everyone, welcome to my studio, Diane here, and today we're going to be painting in a tribute to the little chick that we just lost today that we tried to save but which unfortunately died. Buried him outside the studio, and so we're going to paint two little dicky birds, alive and well, standing on the wall, one named Peter, one named Paul, or in this case I think it's pretty obvious this is Peter and this is Paula. Anyway, so this is my preliminary sketch, and going to do it in some nice bright and cheerful colours. And yeah, so let's get started. I'm using here my, what is this? Etcher watercolour pad, trying it out. They sent it to me, free and gratis, very nice. And I'm using the A Gallo paint set. This is Signature 1 and Signature 2. Has to be said, these are some of the most powerful, pungent colours I've ever used, and so I have no hesitation in recommending them. I don't get any commission from them, but they did send me the paints for free, so that was nice. But I'm happy to recommend them because they are something you can have confidence in. Now, before anyone says, oh, but I like to watch you draw, I'm not going to draw it. I've done a sketch. It's not a very good sketch. I don't like the shape of his head for a start. But I will put the sketch up on the website so that you can download that for free. And the reason why I've done this in advance is because this is supposed to be a bird a day to keep the blues away type of painting. But if I was to include the drawing and if I don't stop rambling, then it's going to take too long and Tamsin will get cross because it's going to be a long one instead of a short one. So shut up, Diane, and get on with it. Now, this is two little dicky birds sitting on a wall. The wall is a Yorkshire stone wall. It's not a garden wall or anything like that. So this is kind of dry stone wall. Stop waving your hands around, naughty. Excuse my fingers, by the way. Whenever I peel potatoes, I get stains all over my fingers and I can't get rid of it for ages, and I can't persuade my husband to peel the potatoes. So there we are. So anyway, Peter and Paul on a stone wall, and we're going to embellish it afterwards. And I think what I'm going to do, having drawn the outlines of these, I might ink them afterwards, might come in with a bit of ink. But my first step here is I'm feeling the need for a little bit of wet in wet today. So I'm going to drop the colour in and hope and pray that things go the way they should. So this, I'm starting off with lemon yellow from Gallo. Now, when you put paint onto an area that you've already wetted, it won't spread outside of that area. It'll only spread inside the area that you've wetted. So that's good, isn't it? So you can happily add more paint around the edges, knowing that the worst that will happen is that you get a line, and that's actually quite nice. So I'm trying not to try too hard because I do like the loose effect, don't you? A little bit of loose affiliation. So we'll do that on the tail. We can always sharpen this up later. And we're going to put some red, I think, underneath. Just following my original here. And I want to leave a bit of white in the wing area, I think, just for light. So we'll put a little bit of red here and here. Maybe a little bit there. And then the thing to do is just wait for it to dry. Or I might put a bit of red under the tail. Okay, so that's a start. And then the other bird, Peter, we're going to start off with Azzurro, which is a dark blue. Oops, excuse me. We will wet you first. Make him wet, and then come in with the sorry, what I meant was Ah dear, Indian Throne Blue on the top. Blue, I think, is amazing because lots of blues do this. They really, really push out into the water more than any other colour. So that is really, I think, rather cool, isn't it? And then we're going to add a lighter blue. So maybe we'll go for Yin Min, which is kind of, I think that looks like ultramarine. Leave a bit of light on the wing there. Bring that up there around the eye. And then we'll drop in a little bit of periwinkle for the tail. And now we're going to let that mix and mingle and do its thing. Meanwhile, we'll grab a smaller brush, I think, for the legs. And I was using number 7 round for the main part of the body there, but I'm going to use a number 3 round now and sit down to steady my hand a little bit. And I'm just going to draw some water down, some paint if it's going to oblige. Otherwise, I'll go in and pick up a little bit more paint, say, for example, orange, and just let that bleed out. Not bleed out in that sense, been watching too much violent television. Okay, and then this one, I'm going to come down with blue. There we are. Oh, and the beak. I'm going to, on this particular one, because these are sort of what you might call semi-whimsical birds. Maybe. Not exactly whimsical, but not exactly birds. That is to say, by no means accurate renditions thereof. Okay, so I'm going to now let that dry. I don't know how good this paper is going to be. I haven't really practiced much on it so far. And now I'm going to grab a bigger brush. Let's go for a number 11. And we'll put some colour in for the stones. Doesn't matter if the feet run or anything like that, because we can always put them in again afterwards. And I probably, almost certainly, I'm going to use some pen on this. And then I need a nice kind of stony colour. And there is this thing here called Notturno, which is, I think, a sort of, yeah, it's kind of nighttime colour, isn't it? So that'll sort of do, won't it? Rather than mixing something up, especially. Just pop that in as a sort of irregular kind of stony sort of looking thing. And then maybe, I don't know, I'm trying it out as I go along. Try some chromite brown for some shadow. If I'm not careful, I'll be doing a proper painting here with landscape features instead of sticking with my whimsy. Okay, I think that will do. And that then also needs to mix and mingle. And next thing, what was I going to do? I was going to going to grab a pen. I was. Let me think. Test card up, music, potter's wheel, all the rest of it. I think what I'm going to have to do is wait for this to dry, and then I'll come back in with the next step. So I shall be back in the 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. So we're dry now, and I've moved my paints out of the way because I won't be needing them for the minute. And I'm just going to use my pigment micron to put in the bird's eye. There's as many ways of doing this as there are ways of cooking potatoes. But talking about potatoes again, one easy way is to just simply draw a circle, leaving a little bit of light, and then come in with a really basically a white line around the outside. Something like that. It will work well or not so well depending on whether or not you're filming. If you're not filming, it will work perfectly. If you are, it might not. So there we are, that will do. And this one, same thing. She's already got a little bit of white around her eye, so we don't need to worry too much about that, but the white definitely adds character. And if you make a solid white line, a bright white line around the outside of the eye, it's very much more of a whimsical nature. If you kind of break the line a bit, it becomes a little bit more realistic. So whatever floats your boat, so to speak. So that's that. Now, there are always so many options, you know. So I'm just going to start drawing. I'm going to start going around and putting in the details of these birds in my time-honoured, sketchy way. Just to give them a bit of an outline. Don't have to do this by any means. But kind of gives you a start if you want to embellish them. And if you don't, if you want to put sort of like gold things on, like we could, for example, just for the heck of it, give her a gold beak and a touch of gold on her feet and legs. And then we've got Mr. here, and do the same thing basically. Coming round, not worried at all about missing the original lines because they're just guidelines. So and then over the top of his head and his tail. And let me see, just look at my model back there. So the wing comes from quite far forward to make it look realistic. Of course, you don't have to. You don't have to be realistic, but I've done a lot of very interpretative stuff lately, and I think my wellspring needs refilling. I'm going to do a few of these more natural-looking ones, and let's just put a little bit of line around the top of the wall here. There we are. And then my original idea was that I would put in some embellishments in the form of flowers and grasses and all sorts of things like that. Let me think. We could put a flower up the middle here. I had that in mind right from the start, from the very beginning. In the beginning was the flower. And so just a flower like that, which we can then colour in with, I don't know, we could make it orange, like that, and then green. There we are. And then maybe we should have just a few things coming up here like this. You can embellish, decorate, elaborate, create, however you want to do, see? But for the purposes of a little video like this, that doesn't want to be too long, for fear of boring you, which we wouldn't want to do, we'll do something like that. And I know that you'll improve on this, and we'll just, for the sake of argument, as we say in England, or we used to, probably don't anymore, just put in a little bit of green for the tiny leaves on this little plant, which I've just invented. And do that. And then, oh yes, I wanted to show you, I'm sure you all know about this, the Kiddywinks way of drawing butterflies, which I think is really cute, where you do a backwards 3 and a 3, and then like that for the, and then like that, so you have a butterfly. So backward 3 and forwards 3 in the body, and then the antennae. I thought that was rather cute. Came across that the other day. I thought to myself, that makes it really easy. I think one's going to have to be blue and one's going to have to be orange. Blue. And orange. And then perhaps in here we'll have our trademark bee. Who is obviously on the yellow side. There we are. So, having done that, if you wanted to, absolutely nothing to stop you from coming in. If you can make your pen work, I think this white one has seen better days, but we could definitely not do any harm to this bird by giving him some white on his chest, like that, and maybe a few dots on his head, like that. You can do so many things, you know, in the vein of what we were doing with the very whimsical birds. You can do lots of things. But this one is going to be a little bit more conservative. Let me give her some dots on her head too. And of course, can't leave out Monsieur. We have a beak. And the legs. Voila. So as you know, I do have a bit of a hard time making up my mind sometimes as to what I'm going to do. So I've developed this idea, which if you happen to have a colour photocopier in your house, which I guess most people have, or a printer, what I've started to do is when I get to this point in a painting, if I'm in two minds as to whether or not to embellish it or leave it as it is, you know, then I take a photocopy and I go into that and see what it looks like if I were to do the kind of, I wouldn't exactly go so far as to say this is the Zentangle method, being as that is something of a huge commitment to go into that. It's not. This is just doodling really on top of your painting. And so you can try it out. And if you want to, you can then go back to the original and do it on that, or not, as the case may be. And I quite like it, actually. I think I might go into doing it on here, perhaps, or maybe not. But anyway, quite pleased with the way the rock came out too, by the way. So that was a blend of Notturno from A Gallo and Indian Throne Blue, which mixed together made a much darker sort of colour, which I used for the shadows. And I literally just, as you know, just dropped that in. So there we are. Embellished or not embellished? Fly away, Peter. Fly away, Paul. Come back, Peter. Come back, Paul. As you were, gentlemen.